This episode of Linux Action Show is brought to you by GoDaddy.com.
And by Ting.com. Head over to last.ting.com and save $25 off your first device.
Welcome to Linux Action Show, Season 30, Episode 8. My name is Chris.
My name is Matt.
Good morning to you, Matt.
Good morning.
All right, you ready for me to tell folks about the big show?
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, coming up on this week's episode of the Linux Action Show, can a tiny computer, it's called the CuBox i4 Pro, and if you're not watching the video version, it fits in the palm of my hand. It's smaller than my mouse. Literally, look at this. It's literally
It's a little
smaller than my
teeny
mouse.
guy.
And it's got a quad-core processor.
Ooh.
It's got an eSATA port, HDMI out, and a gigabit Ethernet port.
Nice.
So can this replace your Linux desktop? Well, we'll give it a spin later on in the show in the second half, give you my review coming up. But of course, in the news segment, we're talking about some big changes with the openSUSE project, as well as a new video editor has hit stable. Yes. I think you might know which one I'm talking about. And then a little Valve news, of course, and a few other things like a new distribution release. So some good news. And then in the feedback segment, we got a question from you guys that's been on your minds. We got a lot of people asking, so we're going to finally fit it into the show. And then first, it's our picks. Woohoo! All right, Matt, so why don't we start with our Runs Linux pick?
Absolutely.
Like, we've done a few times.
We kind of do that on a thing.
Now, check this one out. It's not sports ball related, even though today's the big sports ball day. But you got to watch really, really carefully. See if you can catch it, okay? Are you ready? Watch the screen right there.
Right inside.
See the Intel logo?
There.
And wait for it. Wait for it. He gets the go-ahead from his pit boss. So you see those arrows?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a Linux computer. It's based on a Core i5 processor, Intel, Linux, and a few other bits of technology in there. And this is a Linux box, and I'll show you a little more about it here. So This is the Corvette, and it is the CR, or it's a C7R. It's a race car, obviously, as you could tell from the video there. And I want to say thank you to Madenko for posting this, and then Prentice in the subreddit for verifying that was indeed Linux we saw, even though it goes by so quickly.
Yeah, you could kind of see everything loading up there at the beginning. It was kind of trickling down.
Yeah. So this is the system right here, and here's a screenshot of the video, and I'll show you a little bit more of it here in a bit. And the technical details are as follows. The system is a custom Linux machine with an Intel Core i3 CPU, I thought it was an i5, and uses a rear-facing sensor that is capable of tracking up to 32 objects while in tandem working with the camera. Different colors and symbols are displayed on the review screen, which allows the driver to easily see race cars that are behind and how close they are and their closing speeds. Oh, the video didn't load for us. It's pretty neat. So the way it works is, oh, look at that flash crash. You see that, Matt? You see
He's
that?
a sad little flash crash. Well, what's interesting about it, though, and I thought...
You know what I hate, Matt? I hate
You like it when flash crashes, right?
Yeah, I hate
Isn't that
flash,
awesome?
Matt.
Oh, geez. Well, what's cool about it, though, is that can I get this? I mean, this is the big question.
Can you get it for your own
Can I get it for
car?
my car? Because the way I drive, I mean, I keep hearing everybody yap about this brake thing that everybody goes off about. Personally, I just like to slow down and kind of do a skid in. So if I can know where everybody's at when I'm changing lanes.
Here it is. Again, nothing's changed, but now Flash works for some reason. So you see these arrows that come up on the screen. This is the Linux box, and it's tracking this guy, and it's like his threat sensor system. It's like his tactical readout on the Starship Enterprise. So it's telling him how close these cars get, and then as they get closer, the color changes, and then as they go off to the side, it'll warn them with big arrows saying, hey, by the way, you got somebody in your blind spot.
And it's flashing so you can see what's going on. Okay.
And you see what else is really cool is in the rain here, the camera's totally...
Oh, God, that's fantastic.
But you still get the visual overlay.
Yeah, because you don't know where they're at otherwise.
No. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So that's Linux, and today's a big sports day.
Yes, it is. There's a sports thing going on.
It's a big sports ball day, and so I thought it'd be interesting to have a sportsy kind of thing.
Yep.
And these Corvettes are pretty sweet.
They are very cool.
You just find Linux everywhere, Matt.
I know, and doing important things. If I can get them making bacon, I think that's our next step.
That's true. Well, so today is episode 298 of the Linux Action Show. I know. We're one away from the big 300.
Oh, yeah.
And I did promise on Linux Unplugged this week that we'd have a how-to this week. Kind of like I did last week, too.
Life, it happens. You know?
But then I got this really cool CuBox.
Yeah.
Because I see this is something I actually ordered September last year. We did. It was our CuBox was our Runs Linux pick, and I was so impressed with it that I put a pre-order in after the show.
Right.
And it arrived, I think, on Thursday or Wednesday of this week, and I just, okay, we got to talk about this because It can do a lot of things. It can run Android, and it can also run several flavors of Linux. So this week, we're going to talk about this CuBox and try to get... I know people out there want these how-tos, so we'll try to get to some more of those coming up. And in the feedback segment, we got some more stuff about how-tos as well, so stay tuned for that. But Matt, before we go any further, I want to thank our sponsor this week, and that is GoDaddy.com.
Oh, yeah.
Now, today's a big day for GoDaddy, and to celebrate, you guys, we got us a little special deal, a little extra off when you use the promo code GO32OFF2. GO32OFF2 will save you 32% on anything in your shopping cart, anything that's new. Whoa. You throw that in your shopping cart. You want some WordPress hosting. You want an SSL. You want maybe yourself a .com or a .tv.
Nice.
That's what you got to do now. Because it is the big Super Bowl day for GoDaddy. You got to watch. So here's what you got to watch the Super Bowl commercials for. Here's the GoDaddy ad. And Matt, you got to tell me what you think.
Okay.
It's a mystery. Okay. So watch this.
Let's talk about dreams.
All right. Let's talk about
and the people who choose to pursue them.
Like she's a real person
with a real dream
of starting her very own business.
And she's got a message for her boss in front of 100 million people.
So she's going to quit.
Okay.
Whoever this person is going to quit during the Facebook, I think, in the Super Bowl commercials. Who do you think it is?
Wow. I don't know.
So
you have some suspicions?
Well, I was thinking Steve Ballmer would be a good pick, but then
that'd be the smart money.
But then I realized he said she, so now it's
okay.
I don't know. I mean,
probably not Steve.
Yeah, I don't know. But you know what? So while you're thinking about it, go over to GoDaddy.com and use the promo code GO32OFF2. It's a limited time offer to get 32% off anything in your cart. That's GO32OFF2. GoDaddy's got all kinds of stuff, and I'm looking forward to find out who it is that's quitting. I'm going to be watching for that.
I just thought someone in the chat room said something, and I was just kind of like, no,
way.
Couldn't be.
No
I mean,
way.
It's not. Well, no,
Marissa Meyer. I don't think so. Hillary Clinton.
Would anyone? Yeah, well, I'm not going to say that, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who it might be.
Yeah.
Safe bet it's not us. We're not women. So.
Hey, Matt, did you know that the Linux Action Show was live every single Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific?
I've been told this.
Yeah. Matt, did you know over at jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar you can get all of the live show times and it will automatically convert to your time zone?
You're kidding. I'm
serious. And did you know, Matt, we are just a couple of weeks away from episode 300, which would be an amazing episode to show up live for? I know. It's all coming together, Matt. It's all coming together. Okay, so let me talk about my desktop app pick this week. So this is something you've probably seen floating around the web, but I don't know if you maybe, like me, didn't get a chance to check it out until recently. It's called Livestreamer. It's not software that lets you stream your desktop to like Justin or Ustream.
Okay.
It is software that you feed it a URL of a flash feed that you want to watch, and it will grab that feed and then rethrow it to VLC for you.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that's kind of cool.
It is really cool, Matt. Let me show it to you. So, I'm of the personal opinion that, like, here, let's go over to Twitch. I think both Twitch and Justin TV have, like, the low-rent live stream flash player.
Yeah, I've
super low class.
I've heard of Twitch. I just never actually spent a lot of
Twitch and Justin TV are the same thing.
Okay. Okay, well, that makes sense then.
Apart from actually the previous.
Right, so here's a live stream, right? Now, if we go over this live stream, and this is just somebody doing a let's play online. You can grab this URL here. In fact, I don't even think you need the WWs, Matt. Okay. Oh, look, Flash crash. So if
do you have
problem,
Flash open somewhere else?
Well, this is a great example. So let's say Flash is crashing on you, right? And so you need to do something outside of Flash.
Yeah, it's frustrating. You're done.
Yeah. So you go over to your terminal, you type in live streamer, and then you put in the URL of that Twitch feed. And Livestreamer also supports authenticated Twitch feeds.
Oh, really?
And then you just tell it the resolution you want. I'm going to say best. So it's Livestreamer and then twitch.tv/ the URL I was just at when Flash crashed.
And it's plain English. You don't have to be like /@
right.
dot period.
And there you go. So now it's playing the best version in VLC. No Flash involved. Right. So this works for Ustream. This works for daily motion videos. It works for YouTube. It even works for RTSP and HLS streams too, although I couldn't get that working on mine for some reason.
You know, an added bonus too is that in your terminal history, you don't have to type that again if you just want to go back to the same channel later.
Yeah.
You just boop, boop,
yeah, like if it was like
arrow up and you're done.
Yeah, if it was like the Jupiter Broadcasting RTSP stream, you just pop it in there and Bob's your uncle.
Right.
So it's really cool. It's live streamer. It's available for every distro. And then you just put the URL of the stream. In this case, it was twitch.tv/FaceITTV. And then the quality. And I could also, I think like my other option is, it depends on the vernacular that the streaming service uses, but I'm not sure if low is low. So there's low. So if you got a low bandwidth situation,
so you can do low or best. That's really nice.
Yeah, and it gets you rid of that flash,
I
which
like
obviously
that.
you can tell Flash has problems.
Yeah, Flash is especially in various browsers, it can be real hit or miss. And God help you if you got two Flash instances open at once.
Or if you got Firefox running Flash and Chromium. And if you got Chrome, it's a different thing because then that's built in.
Yeah.
And
it still does the same crashy for you. But
and then the real icing on the cake is it's probably still full of vulnerabilities that we don't know about.
Absolutely. It's tomorrow's Java.
So in light of using the CuBox, I have found a new appreciation for the Mate, or the Mate desktop.
Yeah.
Or Matey. We've heard several. We've gotten emails about multiple different
Spell it
pronunciations.
Matey. You want it Matey? Spell it Matey with a Y.
But we have heard Mate a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we just call it Mate.
Hey, we're an American educational system here.
Well, it's spelled M-A-T-E,
Yeah.
and that's how you spell the word mate.
Yep.
But either way, however you pronounce it, you're probably familiar with it, right? It's the continuation of the GNOME 2 desktop paradigm, and there is a new Mate desktop live CD out. It's only a live CD, and here's what's different about it, because this isn't the first time we've heard of this. Based on Arch.
Oh,
so if you've been a little curious, if you've been a little Arch curious, but
and you don't
haven't
really
pulled the trigger,
yeah, right, yeah. So kind of like you want to stick your toes in, but you're not even quite ready for that. This is gonna. Oh, I like that.
Yeah. See, the chat room's all over us now. See, they're all over it. There's no. Yeah. See, look at them.
All right, I like the guy that said call it meat. I'm gonna call it meat from now on. That's what I'm serious. I'm just gonna call it meat. And then you're all wrong.
Something else, and I don't know why. I don't know if maybe it's a licensing thing. I don't know why we've never seen other live CDs do this. Check this out. It includes a great set of applications.
Sure.
One of my favorite media players, Xnoise, and what it includes with Xnoise is it's preloaded with like 9 Inch Nails, Creative Commons music.
Really?
So like Think Python's in there. 2 different 9 Inch Nails albums, I think, are in there.
That would
one
be.
album.
See, that could be iffy. I mean, unless it's like you've really got it backed up in licensing, that could be a little sketchy.
Yeah,
but,
I don't. I know they're Creative Commons. I don't know what.
Well, if they're Creative Commons, then yeah, it shouldn't be a problem.
All right, so here it is. I got it loaded up here in the virtual box, and it's pretty clear. It's
Very
pretty clean.
meaty-like.
Yeah, and if it's so funny. Like when I was running Mate on this cube, right? And
yeah,
it really truly is exactly like GNOME 2 was. And there, looking back at it, there are a few things that are really great, like the way you can quickly get. I like applications, places, and systems.
That's what I did in my GNOME desktop. I just
on your
an extension.
desktop?
Yeah, I just did an extension. Just boop, boop, boop,
Yeah, this is faster than pushing the super key and typing. It really, I think it is if you already have your hand on your mouse. Now, if you don't have your hand on the mouse, then get something like GNOME do.
My hand's always on my mouse.
And anyways, so it's essentially a really sane Mate setup with Arch underneath. So if you wanted to play with Arch, play with Pac-Man a little bit in a live environment, you can. Here's the downside, though. No installer.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's only live. And I don't know, maybe there's some sort of special magic you could do, but...
That's interesting. Yeah, it's, and I could never really... because I never really spent as much time with Mate as I would have wanted to, but at the same time, GNOME 2 just, it wasn't really for me anymore, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I felt after using it for a while.
But I could see instances to where it would be. I have some older computers that I can't seem to throw away. This might be a really good option.
Looks like it's fairly up to date, too. Only a few packages out of date.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so, it looks like I could actually see if they'll actually commit those to the file system, even though it's running off a live CD, which it looks like it is. We'll see. So,
cool.
There you go. The Mate, it's just called Mate Live CD. And we'll have it linked in the show notes. Be sure you check their website because it does come pre-set up with a user and a root account, and those passwords are already predefined.
Okay.
So you need to check the site to get those. Yeah, look at that. I just updated
what kernel
17
are they running
packages.
with, just for giggles?
Yeah,
you name that bad boy.
It is kernel 3.12.9.
Not bad.
Yeah. There you go.
There it is.
That's pretty nice.
I like it.
I think it, I only ran it in VirtualBox, but I was even in VirtualBox, I was pretty happy with how it performed. I must say.
Looking good.
We'll have links to all of those things in the show notes, including the video of that Corvette C7R race car with the Linux on the dashboard. But Matt,
yes,
let's do the news.
Oh. It's the news, and this episode is brought to you by
Ting.com. Matt, Ting is mobile that makes sense. Ting is my mobile service provider and Matt's mobile service provider. I was going to say, where are our phones? We've been playing around. I don't know where our phones are. I did with it. So what is Ting? Well, Ting is a no BS mobile service provider that has no contracts, no early termination fees, and get ready for this. You only pay for what you use, which, think about it, that's exactly how it should be. Here's how you get started. Go to last.ting.com, last.ting.com. last.ting.com. They got a couple of things over there. Not only do they have the savings calculator, but they'll get you the vitals you need to know, show you their Ting dashboard. The Ting dashboard is an awesome component of Ting. They have a simple-to-use dashboard, but they don't sacrifice the power behind it. You can do all kinds of things like activate, deactivate phone, set up voice call, forwarding, voicemail, check different data usage, set alerts for things like that. You know, when Matt and I were shuffling phones back and forth, shucking and jiving, did you even have to call in to activate your phone?
Nope.
Yeah, so I've done like
I had one hiccup where I had to reset you off the phone, and I was able to do that from the help docs in like about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Did the entire process in like another 7.
Yep.
You know, it was really
so every
simple.
phone I've brought, I've never needed to call Ting. I've never had to call them because everything is. It's like you log into the dashboard. You know exactly what you need to do to manage your account. It's very clear. But if you ever did get stuck, you could call them at 1-855-TING-FTW. They have a no-hold customer support. You call them anytime between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern. A real person answers the phone. Ting has some great devices, and when you buy a device from Ting, you own it. Just like when you buy your computer and you own it, it's the same thing with a smartphone. And if you're doing anything differently, you don't own that device outright. And the Ting blog over the next couple of days is going to be the place to watch. Go over to ting.com/blog and just keep an eye out over there. Existing customers and new customers, there's going to be some great stuff for you guys. You're going to be really happy. And also, if you're a college student, Ting has a ground crew program where you can make some money by bringing others over to Ting.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's actually it's a really great program. And they've recently done some overhauls to make it even better. I have all of that. It's go over to ting.com/blog. Check out their blog. You have it there. And by the way, if you're a Google Plus user, Ting also does Hangouts, where you can ask them questions, and they announce giveaways on their Google Plus feed. Nice. So you can find Ting, just plus.google.com/plus-TingFTW. Yeah, TingFTW. And you can find their feed over there. Here was the G2 unboxing where they announced at 2 p.m. they would be giving away an LG G2.
How cool is it that they're doing unboxing videos and they actually get that? That's so awesome.
It is really awesome. Yeah. So, and they're going to, I think you're going to be seeing some more of that. So there's lots of great reasons to follow Ting on any social network. I like their G Plus feed because they embed the videos there too.
Yes.
All that kind of stuff. So go over to last.ting.com, try out that savings calculator, see how much you would save. If you're worried about an existing contract, Ting has an ETF relief program over at ting.com/ETF. It's really straightforward. You grab your Ting device, you port your number over to Ting, and then you submit your ETF claim, and they'll give you up to $75 of Ting credit per line. Now, my average Ting bill is around $33.
Nice.
So if you think about that, $75 credit is going to last you a while. And if you already have a phone and you go to last.ting.com, check out their BYOD page. If you've already got a phone, they'll give you a $25 credit on your service. And for me, that actually ended up paying for my first month.
Nice.
So my first month was free. So the savings really stacks up. So go over to last.ting.com, and a big thank you to Ting for sponsoring the Linux Action Show.
Love those guys.
Let's talk about some huge changes, potentially. Could be nothing. We're kind of in a wait-and-see stage, but it sort of propped up the last couple of days into January, and LWN.net and Phoronix have write-ups on it, which we will link to in the show notes, and it was pulled from discussion lists in the SUSE mailing list. After some confusing communications, the folks at SUSE, not openSUSE, but SUSE, have come clean, according to LWN.net, on a change for the openSUSE distribution. Paid SUSE staff will no longer work on creating openSUSE releases. It is claimed that the amount of work going into openSUSE is not decreasing, it's just being put into other areas. Meanwhile, the community is trying to figure out how it will do a release without full-time paid worker bees. The plan now seems to be to release openSUSE 13.2 in November, with SUSE still providing security support thereafter. Now, I went through the comments because I knew, like, this sounds interesting, right?
Right, yeah.
So openSUSE's team lead at SUSE, so the guy who's in charge of openSUSE at SUSE, he responded to this LWN.net post, and he says, number one, SUSE has not only not decreased the number of SUSE employees working on openSUSE releases, but we have increased it. There's no plan on changing that. We are not focusing our work in other areas. What we are doing is improving Factory, the integration phase of the openSUSE release. Hence, SUSE's compromise with the next openSUSE release is not changed. So what I'm kind of gathering is it sounds like folks at SUSE are going to focus on services around openSUSE and work more on Factory itself, the rolling aspect of SUSE.
Okay, right.
But paid employees will not be working on the actual final assembly, like the release managing of the openSUSE distribution anymore.
It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. I mean, I can see where people would be a little concerned.
Yeah, and it also makes me wonder if the next version of openSUSE will kind of be more of a maintenance release. 13.2 is maybe
that would buy
have...
everybody some time, maybe, to kind of let the dust settle.
Interesting, though, that if both Ubuntu's next release is going to be pretty much just a maintenance release, and SUSE's next release is going to be pretty much a maintenance release, and we don't know yet, but Fedora's current plans are to reboot with Fedora.next by the next release. So Ubuntu, openSUSE, and Fedora are all going through a very awkward phase right now.
Right.
It's the year of Arch, man.
It is the year of Arch.
Just telling you.
I mean, I finally dropped. Manjaro was great, but basically due to a Chrome thing and just a couple other dumb things I did, I found this just like, all right, I'm just going to Arch all of my boxes at this point. Just what the hell? Went with the GNOME 3 desktop, and I got to tell you, I'm so used to Arch now. It's like I feel like a Linux user trying to use Windows when I go to other stuff anymore.
Yeah,
it's really weird. I keep trying to Pac-Man stuff, and it's weird.
JMac says that, openSUSE's last release seemed like it was meant to last a while. And I thought that, too, after I heard this news. Because remember, it was a great release. It was an evergreen. And you almost wonder if they knew.
They did a really good job on it.
Yeah. But that's kind of why I was sad to hear that there might be slowing down. Now, SUSE says, no, look, this is not really a big deal. It's going to be better for the community. It's going to get the community more involved. We're going to improve the integration between SLES.
Well, and to their credit, when they say something like that, historically, they've been pretty spot on. They're pretty careful about not writing checks they can't cash.
That's true.
So I'm gonna give them a point and say I believe them. I don't think this is another situation like other distros to where they talk big and then fall short. I think that they really mean what they say.
Yeah, I agree. They have a good track record.
They do.
And it's definitely one of these wait-and-see things and see how it turns out.
Absolutely.
While we're talking about openSUSE, here is the Phoronix write-up on it. And I'll link to that in the show notes. And here's something else they've been working on recently. It's a technology that allows SUSE systems, but it's going to be pushed to upstream as well, to patch the kernel while the system is running live. And we've seen things like this before. We've like K-Splice is one we've seen before. SUSE's is called K-Graft. And they say there are a couple technologies that currently provide live patching of Linux. Neither are available in the upstream Linux kernel, however. So, according to SUSE Labs, enterprise Linux users are eagerly awaiting an offering of this type, which enhances uptime of mission-critical environments, so you can do kernel patches while it's running using Kgraft, and they're going to submit it upstream. So there you go. Yeah, I thought Kgraft was something that happened to Data's face when the Borg Queen traps him in engineering, but that was
apparently not. O'Brien or Jordy rather will be okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, a quick plug for the Magia project. Version 4 just hit. Features kernel 3.12, systemd 208, KDE 4.11, GNOME 3.10, XFCE 4.10. And some experimental UEFI
full HD
support.
resolution support. I need to give them another spin. It's been so long.
Yeah, they also have a new Magia Welcome doohickey that is it's like this new splash screen you go through.
Oh, that's
nice.
That's
right?
really That's actually what I think Linux Mint was trying to do, but didn't quite get there.
Yeah,
I like the way they laid that out. Looks nice.
So it's just
congrats, guys.
I don't have too much more to say on that. Just a quick mention to them. I do have something to say about this next story. Lightworks 11.5 has gone stable for Linux. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Woo! Here it is. We've been covering this one since it broke. Remember, we had that early beta.
Yep. And it was interesting to see. But I'm excited at the prospect because it sets the tone of hey, by the way, let's actually start doing something in the space.
Yeah,
I think that's cool.
Yeah, and they had somebody was doing a go-between and doing essentially an AMA with the Lightworks developers, and so I got in a question. I said, so. Have you guys looked at Wayland? Do you know this Wayland thing is coming? What are you going to do about that? And they said, yeah, we have looked at it. We don't have any immediate plans, although we're currently thinking of leaning on something like Qt5 to let them solve the Wayland problem for us, and we'll just factor in Qt5.
Smart. Yeah, go ahead and outsource that. Concentrate on what's being used now. Concentrate on just making really good software. Deal with the Wayland stuff when you got to.
Let the toolkits worry about it.
Right.
So there's 11.5 was released yesterday or the day before, and it's got some good features. It does have a few limitations for Linux.
Okay.
Here, let me see. There we go. The known limitations on the Linux side are, for instance, there's no FireWire support for Linux, which we were just talking about on the pre-show. Yeah. No QuickTime or MPEG-4 export option, and only ATI and NVIDIA cards are supported, so no Intel graphics cards. And audio may not be present on some uncompressed AVI files, and there are only 64-bit DEB and RPM files available for download. Their Lightworks comes with the following recommended specs for Linux. Debian distro, Ubuntu, Xubuntu are fine, Mint. RPMs, Fedora are 18. i7 or faster, 3 gigabytes of RAM or more. They recommend 2 high-resolution 1080p screens or above. For graphics cards, they recommend at least 1 gigabyte of memory, NVIDIA or ATI with support for OpenGL. And they also recommend that you have, it's funny, they say separate media systems. They say suitably fast interfaces like eSAT or FireWire 800, but the Linux version doesn't have FireWire support. Maybe it just meant FireWire ingestion.
Yeah, I think so. So
anyways, pretty cool.
That's interesting, and I agree with their specs. And I think realistically, the 64-bit support thing really isn't an issue because honestly, if you're running a machine with i7 or whatever, you probably are in a 64-bit world anyway.
Yeah.
So
one thing is that whoever's maintaining the Lightworks AUR entry has just sort of let it.
They just don't care.
Yeah, and somebody's taking it over, so it's not in the repo yet, but it will be soon. So great, congrats to the Lightworks. Once it's in the repo, I'm going to be kicking the tires. I'll tell you what, Matt.
Definitely.
They have a pro version as well. The free version is limited to web formats such as H.264 and 720p resolution.
I have an idea. We have a chat room and a community. Some of those guys run Arch and probably know how to put packages together.
I think someone's on it. They just haven't taken it over
maybe
yet.
Reach out to some folks or nag them.
That'd be good.
I'd be all right with that.
So one of the things we always say about KDE is it's a good desktop, but man, sometimes it feels like it just needs a little bit of polish.
Sure.
Well, Matt, check it out. There's a visual design group that is assembled to help KDE look a little bit better in its next iteration. The visual design group has come together, and they're going to be meeting soon. We've got, here's Elena Ramirez. She's a talented web designer, and she helped KDE finish the look for edu.kde.org.
Oh, wow.
Fabian Bastian, he's a student in Germany and an active Kubuntu group member on Google Plus with a passion for theming. He maintains a theme himself. So other people on this list, a couple of actually folks that already have KDE themes. Nuno Pernero, they say he needs no introduction. He's a grand old man of KDE, grand old man of KDE design. And he's also the creator of the Oxygen icon theme. Nice. And Jens Ruderberg, he's a freelance illustrator and graphics designer with experience on AD work in Sweden, and he's from Sweden, who promised my soul to KDE for this January.
That's fantastic.
This is the initial team, and they're going to be working on sprucing up the look of KDE for the next release. They're going to try to make the Plasma desktop just look a little bit better.
Well, and I not only are they going to invest a tremendous amount of time, but they've actually managed to recruit Aquaman, apparently.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Aquaman is going to be overseeing this project and making sure that it is officially ready to talk to animals underwater. So that's cool. I think that's great. I'm looking forward to the whole thing.
Aquaman. It's a Creative Commons. It's J.D. Hancock, I guess. It's not Aquaman. It's J.D. Hancock, of course.
Oh, okay, absolutely.
Or Captain Marvel, the chat room says?
No, close. It's the right neck cut, but the wrong shirt. And the fact that I know
the blue gloves?
Blue gloves. I don't think Captain Marvel does any glove.
But I'm pretty excited about KDE having a fit and finish team looking at how to make things look a little bit better. Oh, yeah, Aquaman would be green.
True. Okay.
Yeah. So there you go.
Child.
Good news for you KDE lovers. And, the other thing, speaking of KDE, is that KDE's Plasma Next has gotten a release date.
Oh.
Good
stuff there.
Yeah. So the plan is to do a feature freeze in March, followed by the first beta, a second beta in April, and then the release candidate in May, and then hopefully ship Plasma Next on the 17th of June. The official version of Plasma Next will be released as the version 2014.6, should it actually ship in June.
Ooh.
So they're getting close. So it's a good time for these guys to be looking at this kind of stuff.
Good stuff. Yeah, right. I mean, that's kind of right in sync with what we got going on elsewhere. Good stuff.
All right, now one last Valve story. I had to squeeze a Valve story in here because you know me, I love to get on this soapbox that even though Valve's making closed source games for Linux, they're actually improving the whole overall Linux ecosystem.
Well, he was raised on Valve and he turned out Valve. I mean, clearly.
Yeah. And this story illustrates the point. So published on Friday were a set of patches by Greg KH and Pierre Loup, the former NVIDIA engineer who joined Valve to work on SteamOS. It's a set of 7 XPad input drivers that fix up the driver when using a wireless XPad controller. Now that is, the XPad driver is just like the input controller driver for Linux. And I also added support for working LEDs on the controllers and precision input. So there you go. So everybody who runs Linux and hooks up a gamepad to their Linux box, even if you're not using a Steam game, you're going to have improved controller support.
Going to have a good time.
Yeah.
You're going to make sure you got that accuracy control and LEDs.
Totes.
Like it.
Totes.
Liking it.
That's nice to see. And it's interesting to see a guy from NVIDIA come over to Valve to work on SteamOS. I mean, I'd love to know more about the relationship between NVIDIA and Valve and SteamOS. I think there's an interesting story to be told there. And I think a lot of us have speculated that the game streaming technology they're using is the NVIDIA Shield technology, just sort of repackaged.
Could be.
If that's true, if they have integrated that NVIDIA Shield streaming into the Steam client, to me, that would seem to indicate some pretty close collaboration between Valve and NVIDIA.
Personally, I've always theorized that NVIDIA and Valve actually all live in a frat house that looks like something off the movie Animal House, and they basically run around in togas and code.
And then Gabe shows up with boxes of pizza from time to time. And
exactly. And occasionally they get really drunk or whatever. But at the end of the day, the code happens, and they're working together, and that's cool.
All right, Matt. Well, that's all the news for this week. We're going to go talk about the CuBox, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to send them into the show, because I only had it for a couple of days. I recorded the segment early yesterday. So if you have any questions after the review, feel free to send them in to us, and I'll answer them in Linux Unplugged on Tuesday. But I think with the news all done, let's go talk about the CuBox i4 Pro. So, can a computer that's smaller than my mouse actually replace a Linux desktop in your house? Maybe. We're going to talk about that, but first I want to thank our segment sponsor, System76, creators of machines born to run Linux. Let me tell you something, you guys. System76 has some awesome hardware, and it goes a little bit something like this. I want you to stop fighting with your hardware and go play with your Linux. Get a System76 rig, and you'll see what I've been talking about. I love their Ultra Pro. Iris graphics in this thing, Core i-Series processor, SSD, USB 3, super light and thin, good sturdy construction, amazing screen, that Ultra Pro. Woo-wee! But, you know, we've been hearing from a ton of folks in the community who've picked themselves up the new Kudu Professional. They love the large screen, love the 10-key, good keyboard. If you're doing a lot of typing, this rig's going to get you there. And by the way, that cool slope design really looks great in person. I don't know if you can quite make it out in that picture, but man, that is a great-looking machine. Not only that, but System76 is an active participant in the Linux community. They actively seek out Linux users. They are Linux users, and they understand what it means to be involved with upstream projects, to work with distributions, and to meet users' expectations. System76 is an awesome company who's really been part of the Linux ecosystem now for a long time, and one of the best ways you can continue to support companies like System76 is by voting with your wallet. So go over to System76.com, get yourself something nice. Tell them the Linux Action Show sent you. I'm telling you, I've had several System76 machines for years, and I love it. My Bonobo Professional right here, over a year, and it has reached the point where it is the only laptop that I have used as my main daily desktop for over a year. Usually a laptop, about the year point or so, I usually replace it with a desktop. I just can't take it anymore. But the Bonobo, I still feel like I got breathing room. I'm good. So let's talk about the CuBox i4 Pro. Now, that i4 part actually stands for 4 cores. Now, it is an ARM machine. It's not like a Core i7 series. We'll get into that a little bit. It's from a company called SolidRun, based out of Israel, and the whole thing fits in this box, this SolidRun box right here. If you're not watching the video version, it's okay. It's a very tiny box, and the machine comes in here, and it gives you an idea of its overall size. And they have several different models over there. This the CuBox i4, that's their latest, and with the 4 cores, I think that was really sort of piqued my interest. Now, it clocks in at about $125 US dollars right now, and here's what you get for $125. You get a not only is it tiny, right? I mean, that's obviously one of the features, but you get a quad-core ARM processor. You get 2 gigabytes of RAM. You get a gigabit Ethernet port on this, an eSATA port on this, USB, HDMI out. And, of course, it also has a few other goodies, like it has on the back of it a micro SD slot. That's where your storage is. And it also has a micro USB slot. And the other thing that's kind of interesting about it is it has an optical port on the side of it, which obviously would make it a great contender for a media PC. So it's pretty compact, and I have it right here. You can see I have it hooked up right now. And this is what it looks like when it's all fully hooked up and connected to your machine. I've got it installed with Arch Linux at the moment on the SD card. Now, how did I do that? It's actually pretty easy, depending on what method you take. First thing you're going to want is you're probably going to need a micro SD card adapter. I know I did. Since this thing uses micro SD, in order to flash anything to it, I had to put it in an adapter. I don't have anything that takes micro SD. My Bonobo has an SD slot, so once I grabbed the micro SD adapter, slid that in there, then I put this in the Bonobo. And one thing I want to note right here is depending on the type of SD card you get, you're going to get a wide range of performance differences. My micro SD card that it shipped with, I think it's only doing like 14 to 17 megabytes a second. So it is a source of performance lag. So if you can, spend a little bit extra and get one of those high performance rated SD cards. But what you do is you pop it in your SD card reader, and then it's really super simple. The method I took, at least. Now, you can go Arch from scratch, but I downloaded a rootfs that somebody had already put together and hosted on their wiki. You download that rootfs, you download a script, you mark that script executable, and once you mark that script executable, you just point the script at your SD card reader. In my case, it was /dev/mmcb1k0. That's where my SD card lived at. So I just point the script at that, and then you're done. It writes to the file system. It writes a base Arch installation with already pre-configured users and stuff like that. So you want to go in there and change that. And there's also instructions to do a complete Arch install from scratch. You can also load things like Debian, Ubuntu. Here's the funny thing. It also fully supports Android 4.3, and they're even looking for Google Play certification so you can get the Play apps in the Play Store. Even if you grab it now and put Android 4.3, and by the way, these are back-ordered at the moment, but they're getting more availability. If you want, today, you could get Android 4.3, put that on there, load up, they have a how-to on their wiki, load up the Play apps, and start installing stuff from the Google Play Store like Plex, right? This could be a full-fledged Plex machine if you just wanted Android. For me, and what I wanted to use it for, Android wasn't going to be enough. And what I wanted to use it for is sort of, it's not even a secondary computer. It's more of a tertiary computer in a sense. Something that I'm going to have up that maybe always has the IRC chat room. Or maybe it's my terminal computer where I need to SSH into somebody's remote system. It's not going to be my main computer. It's probably not even going to have my Thunderbird email database on it. It's really just sort of, I needed another machine to do a few tasks, like run the soundboard, run the IRC room, maybe watch a live stream, maybe watch video playback. But I didn't need to spend a whole bunch of money because there are small, if you just want small, there are other small rigs coming out on the scene, like the NUC. We've talked about this before on the show, and ours just did a post today, or today I'm recording this a little early for the Super Bowl. Ours just posted a great article on this mini desktop, and this is, I mean, now this is a full-fledged desktop. You can run Ubuntu 13.10 or Mint or whatever. It's got 8 gigabytes of RAM. It's got a Core i5 processor. It's got the HD Graphics 5000. It's got a 128 gigabyte SSD. But it also clocks in at $602, right? So it's cool, and it's a good size. But if I'm going to spend $600, now we're talking, why wouldn't I just get something maybe a little more robust, something that can do a little bit more than this thing can? So for me, the value isn't really there at the higher end of these small computers. But this lower end where I could have it be an XBMC machine, I could just have it sitting around. Now we're starting to talk. And the other advantage is because this thing's ARM-based, get ready for this. According to SolidWorks, or what? Not SolidWorks, according to SolidRun, 1 watt at idle. That's what it draws. 1 watt. Now if you ever have a little green guilt like I do when you have all the computers in your house, that's like, okay, all right, that's a little more reasonable. So you got the CuBox, you got several different series. This is the i4 Pro. It's back ordered right now, but you should be able to order it soon. Here's what it looks like when it's all hooked up. You guys can see this a little bit closer here. I got 2 USB, Cat 5, Ethernet, gigabit, which is great for file server purposes. That eSATA port, it also supports, by the way, that eSATA port supports multiplexing. So you could, in theory, hook up an eSATA external array to this guy and throw on Samba or NFS or whatever you want, and this could actually be a file server. And remember, it's got a quad-core processor in it, too. So it's no slouch. It's definitely going to have some performance. But how does it work as a desktop? So I tried out LXDE. I tried out Razer QT. All of those worked great. And then I tried out GNOME 3. Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing about GNOME 3. Current limitations with Arch prevented me, not Arch itself, but with the driver they have, prevented me from using the 3D accelerated driver. This thing has OpenGL support and all that, but unfortunately, that driver is not working. So I'm using the frame buffer driver, which means all of the burden for rendering, all of that goes right to the CPU, and as you guessed it, GNOME 3 did not perform all that well. So I struck a happy balance with Mate. Now, please forgive, I am actually shooting my screen here. Oh, hello, giant hand. Because I was having a little bit of trouble getting the HDMI signal into our capture machine. That has more to do with inconsistencies with our crappy capture software than it does with the HDMI out on the i4 here. But I'll just give you a little tour. This is the Mate desktop here, current version from the Arch repos. And you can see I'm browsing my file system here. It's pretty performant, really. If you start throwing complicated tasks on it, you're gonna hit a wall. One of the things that I found is not so much that it has performance issues. Like here's Midori, and I'm loading this up right now, and I'm going over to Interface Lift to look for some wallpapers. That loads pretty good, right? It's not so much. There is still a limitation of software availability for ARM. Midori is sort of my best browser that I could find. Netrunner is another one that's out there. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'd rather run Chromium, Firefox, heck, even Opera. I mean, Midori is a fine browser, but I feel like I hit a ceiling pretty quick on Midori. But you can see here I have a little bit of lag when I scroll, but it's not too bad. It catches up pretty good. This would definitely do webmail. This would definitely do chat. This would do all the kind of things you might need from a sort of office-type computer. Oh, I don't have the codec installed. But if I did, you'd, in theory, be able to see the codecs there. So performance-wise, it really hauls on the command line. Like, there's really nothing it feels like it can't do when you're working with it on the command line. And even here in the GUI, it's pretty good. And remember, I'm doing this with the frame buffer driver too, right? I mean, this isn't like we're actually getting any the GPU is not helping us out at all with any of this stuff. Here's the terminal. Now everything, as you'd expect on the terminal, flies super fast, no big deal. And I will go in here and I'll just show you, while we're in here, I'll show you just a Pac-Man update. Just you guys can kind of get a sense of how that kind of performs. And some of this is going to be is going to vary depending on the speed of the SD card. And I think this is kind of where I hit a wall. And the other thing is this is only a 4 GB SD card. So the fact that I got Razer QT installed, Mate, LXDE, and GNOME and on top of Midori and other things is pretty good. Although now I'm sitting here at, well, actually I have 1.3 GB still free. And what's really kind of nice about this is you can pop it out and then you can just load it into your machine and flash another OS in there. Or if you have multiple micro SDs, you could have one that's an Android micro SD. You could have one that is an XBMC micro SD and then one that's your Arch or Debian installation. There is some spins specifically for XBMC that do have full acceleration, and then it also has video accelerated 1080p playback. It supports 1080p video, and that's hardware accelerated, so that's pretty nice. I like the idea of sort of, it's almost like the old cartridge aspect of video game systems where you pop in a cartridge, just like you can do with the Raspberry Pi. I've got a Raspberry Pi right over there. I swap in different SD cards, try different things out. Same concept here, but this, performance-wise, I mean, it's far and above the Raspberry Pi. There is a noticeable difference. Now, I haven't played around on the desktop a lot with the Raspberry Pi, but in my experience, from what I do notice, where it really jumps out at me is web pages load a lot faster. The desktop pops up a lot faster. These things on the CuBox here the performance seems to be a lot greater. So you can see right here, I'm driving a 1080p display too, by the way. Now, some people asked on Twitter if I could run Steam and stream to this. Now, you can't. Because Steam it's a closed source application and it's x86 only. If they made Steam for ARM, I think this thing could handle it. And that's pretty cool, the whole idea of being able to stream games to it. I would say if you're looking at maybe replacing a desktop computer with something like this, make sure you have your expectations set right. It might perform a better role as a media center machine. It has a built-in IR receiver, which is pretty nice. Right here on the front where the LED power is at, there's also an IR receiver in there. Linux has support for it out of the box, so you can, and it also, you can use some software on Linux, and you can train it, so you can pretty much use any remote you have if you're willing to spend a little bit of time to say, this button means change channel, this button means volume up, this button means volume down. If you're willing to sit there and tell it one at a time, you can pretty much use any remote you want. You combine that with the XBMC spin that has accelerated video playback, now you're starting to talk. Although, again, you could just throw Android on there, too. So the pros and cons of this thing, pros, absolutely silent. I mean, for me, that's become more and more of an issue these days. And I've been running this thing for a couple of days straight. Silent. Solid too, by the way. Absolutely stable. So let's make that pro number 2, stable. And pro number 3, there's a lot of Linux out there for it. If you want to go Ubuntu, you're stuck with 11.10. But you can get Debbie and Jesse, or you can go Arch and just get the absolute latest everything. That's pretty great. Cons. Speed and performance still isn't quite there for all of my needs, so you have to kind of limit what you're going to get out of it. And also, software availability for ARM on Linux is still a little hit and miss. For example, web browsers. You know, I have the base system here. I have all my file managers. And everything that's like truly part of the base system, I pretty much have. But there was enough things during this review process that I felt like would be a compromise if I didn't have them. And if I could change anything, I would probably double the size of the SD card, and I'd try KDE. And be curious if I dialed KDE way down, used Conquer or something like that, if maybe that would be a fully usable out-of-the-box solution. I didn't have enough free space. Even after most of the system was installed, KDE takes 2.5 gigs, and when you're rocking a 4 gigabyte SD card, it's just not a good idea. You're not going to have a good time. There is some minor gaming that could be supposedly played, but again, in the con column, I could not get the 3D accelerated driver to work with Arch. However, I did read on their wiki that's under active investigation and development, so that could be changing pretty soon. And then, of course, it's an incredible size, and the power is a great advantage to it too. So there you go. It's the CuBox i4 CU iBox i4 quad processor, 2 gigabytes of memory. It has OpenGL ES 1.1.2.0 and OpenCL 1.1 support. And, of course, it also supports HDMI 1.4, and that means it includes 3D support, and it has accelerated HD playback, and that eSATA port offers tons of potential as a possible network file server. And really, I believe it's true calling is a media center with that optical port there on the side. So the CuBox i4, is it a buy? I say yeah. If you've got the $125 and you have maybe limited expectations, a terminal box, sysadmin work, if you spend a lot of time in the terminal, if you use a tiling window manager and don't need a very graphically intensive desktop, you need some place to run IRC, stream, and things like that, $125 is a pretty great value for something that has some leg rooms that also let you play with ARM and do some other stuff. Do bear in mind, it's not totally 100% noob-friendly yet, loading different operating systems on there. It'll ship with Android, but loading different OSs on there sort of reminds me of like back in 2011 when I got into Bitcoin mining. And it was a lot of build your own solutions, cobble things together, see what works. Something doesn't work, you pop the SD out, you put it back in your computer, you try all over again. And then you take Bitcoin mining and you flash forward to 2014, and it's way simpler. They have GUI applications, you put the video card in there, you install the right drivers, click, click, you're mining Bitcoins. Doesn't make you anything anymore, but it's way easier. I suspect as boxes like the CuBox come out, the process of loading operating systems on there is going to get a lot easier. Right now, it feels a lot like it's dependent on having a desktop computer to get it set up. So it couldn't be a complete replacement. But if you could have a bunch of these, you could stash them all over an office, and if people just need a basic office functionality, that's going to do it. So that's the Linux Action Show's look at the CuBox i4 Pro. And that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast. Hey, Matt.
Yes.
Before we go, let's cover some emails, okay?
All right.
And just general feedback. In fact, this one is from the subreddit. Comes from Q5Sis. He says, a big thank you to the Jupiter Broadcasting community. His Yassi Pipe campaign has been funded. It still has 16 days to go. And I remember this was the campaign to put Yassi Search, which is a democratized search, onto a Raspberry Pi. And he's been whittling it down to make sure it runs with a custom version of Puppy Linux. He was going for $10,000. He's reached $11,000 with 16 days to go.
Wow.
And he's put some new stretch goals in there, too.
That's great.
Yeah. So if you guys are still interested in this and you haven't got a chance to throw in yet, and you want to help re-democratize search and make sure it's not just controlled by a single company, it's a great use for a Raspberry Pi, and it's from somebody in our own community.
Yes.
All right. We got a question from Trevor. He wrote us. He knows we're both Plex users. He says, hey, I was just wondering if you could go through how to get Plex up and running under Arch. I got a fresh install, and I can't for the life of me get Plex to start successfully. I'll admit I'm coming from using Ubuntu as my primary OS for more years than I can count. However, every other problem I've encountered in Arch, I've managed to solve thus far. Big fan of the show. By the way, keep up the great work.
Well, two things that come to my mind, and I'm guilty of this. Honestly, my Plex is running on an Ubuntu setup, so it's like because I'm lazy and I didn't want to deal with it. I'm not really. I mean, obviously the server's not starting up. Maybe when you. I mean, you can manually.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, maybe.
So
sometimes I have to do that in Ubuntu. I'll show him. Start it.
Here's what I'll do. You know what? I'll show him the command just in case he just needs the command.
Because
it's a different command than it is under Ubuntu, right?
Yes, it is. I think
so. It's you use because we're using systemd now. So systemctl.
Yep.
And then you want to say start, and under Arch the service is called Plex Media Server, all one word.
And for giggles, maybe do an enable in there as well.
Yeah, you could. If you did enable, then it would set it to start at boot. And then now if I do an AX and I grep for Plex, you'll see Plex is running right there.
Okay.
And I can also, and when I'm done, I can do systemctl stop. And now,
and that's actually that's better than enable disable, just because you have a little more granular control on running something you may not want to run all the time.
I linked like within all things Arch. It takes you a while to believe it, but the wiki really does have all of your answers.
Oh, the power saving stuff! It made me a believer. I was just like, "This is great."
Yeah, they have a great section.
Copy, paste, done, boom, done.
So they'll tell you on this Arch wiki entry, it'll tell you how to install Plex, and then it'll give you right here the commands you need to run to start the Plex server, and it'll also tell you the URL you need to visit once Plex has been started.
Yes.
So one way to check, like I just did, is I just did a PS and I did -AX, and I grepped for Plex, and you can see when I had it running, it shows up, and when I had stopped it, it no longer shows up. So that's a quick way to also determine if it's running or not, if it started. And if you're doing that and it's still not starting, then just check your logs. You'll see a crash report in there of what's going on.
I'm willing to bet money that'll do it for him, though.
Yeah. All right, Lance writes in. He says, "Hey, Chris and Matt, I'm a longtime listener since episode 1.
Holy cow.
And when this was just, I got to say, when 300's coming up, if you've been listening since episode 1, yeah, I'd like to know if you're out there. I'd love to read your emails in episode 300. So in the subject line, put, it's like since episode 1 or something in there. And send in your feedback. We'd love to know what you think and if you're still watching. All right, so we continue on, and we'll read those in episode 300. Sure. So this is my first time writing in. I wanted to let you all know that I've taken the plunge and I've installed Integros. I've been wanting to do it since about hearing it on your show. I've been an Ubuntu user since Dapper Drake, and I've been going back and forth between Windows and Linux. I sometimes install Windows, and I sometimes use the Windows and Linux in a VM or Ubuntu in a Windows VM. Except for when they came out with Windows 8. I really liked Windows 8.
Really?
So, since I switched to using Windows 8 because I enjoyed developing Windows Phone apps, but after hearing about Integros and reading about it and watching a few videos, I decided to switch to it. I blew away my Windows 8 machine and installed it a day ago. I'm really enjoying it. It's fairly easy, and this comes from a fairly newbie to Linux and command line stuff. I want to do more with Linux and even maybe learn Python so I can contribute back to the open source projects. One suggestion for the show: how about a once a month doing of an in-depth or how-to, either a useful Linux command or service like shell scripting, web server, Google security, stuff like that. He says, sorry for the long comment. I guess I just have a lot to say since I haven't written in before. This should make up for it. I'll keep you posted with my experiences on Arch and Integros. Thanks,
nice.
Lance. Well, Lance, if you go over to this week's show notes, down to the feedback section, we have in there a Google form that asks what how-tos you'd like to see. And by the way, I meant to mention this last week. In this box where you fill out what how-to you'd like to see, maybe at the bottom of it, put a note, too, if there's been a how-to that or any topic we've covered on last, and you've been like, well, how did they actually get that set up? Or I'm missing the piece on when they went from here to there. Like we got people writing and said, how do you get Steam streaming working?
Yes.
If there's been something we've covered that you felt like we could fill in the holes on, I'd love to know that too. So go over to this episode, and you'll see in the feedback section a form you can fill out. It's embedded there for how-tos you'd like to see on future editions of the Linux Action Show. And we'll be incorporating that into future content. So stay tuned for that. So if you'd like to get a hold of us, you can go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com and click the contact link and choose Linux Action Show from the drop-down.
Yes.
And you can also start a thread in our subreddit over at linuxactionshow.reddit.com, which is actually a better place to go because we check that more often than the rest of the community. And there is a very active community. You can chime in on it. Matt, before we go, is there anything you wanted to point people to?
As always, you can find me at datamation.com. It's world open source, and I'm usually doing something there once or twice a month. Just depends.
Nice. I see you. Are you writing about Chrome OS?
Yeah, I like to. I was like, hey, Chris has got something going on. Let's go borrow that topic. I literally just use it for topics these days. That's just easier to pitch.
That's fine.
But yeah, and I kind of gave some interesting thoughts on it and whatnot, just kind of going back and forth. I'm Chrome OS, not quite sure. Kind of on the fence.
Well, so spoiler alert. So right there we have a C720, and I tried out. I really wanted to use Chrome OS for longer than I did, but I tried it out for a couple of hours, and I mean it's nice, and I feel like I could actually recommend it to some users. But
Well, for me, it's like, okay, so I want to use Chromecast, or I want to use Netflix. I mean, really, it's the only thing I can really see is the whole Chrome OS thing. Otherwise, Integros, I think, is the way to go here.
yeah, I mean that's what I did. After a couple hours, I formatted it and put Integros on there, and
Just what I would do.
and now it's like a real computer.
Right?
But Chrome OS was nice. I mean,
sure.
I'll give them that. And you know, if you're cool with the Google stuff, then
Yeesh.
so datamation.com is where you find Matt. Of course, you can also get more show
Yeesh.
every Tuesday by checking out Linux Unplugged. And I think we had a really great episode 25, The Culture of
yeah.
Shiny. Aaron Saigo joined us.
That was fantastic.
So if you've been wanting to hear from Aaron Saigo, go listen to that one. We talked a little bit about how there's this reoccurring trend in open source where people just want to throw it all out and start over again and build up all over again.
Right.
Honestly, sometimes that leaves us for a very, very mixed desktop, and sometimes features that should be there aren't there. Maturity isn't ever reached in the software platform. So we really kind of banged that whole issue around. I thought it was a really good conversation. And that was episode 25 of Linux Unplugged. If you're not watching Linux Unplugged, you're not doing it right.
You're missing out on so much stuff. It's like literally it's kind of like it's like all the stuff you see in the live show. If you can't make the live show, you can get a lot of that in the Unplugged segments.
That's true. Although you should watch this show live. Join us over at jblive.tv at 10 a.m. Pacific
Ish.
or jblive.info if you want an audio stream. And by the way, jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar converts it to your local time zone.
That's right.
That's
Does
what you
all
do.
the work for you.
Yeah, yeah. All right, well, I hope everybody enjoys their sports ball this week if they're watching. And, you know, if not, if you're not a sports ball fan, it's cool.
That's okay.
Just keep low, and it'll pass.
Exactly.
You'll get through it.
Have
It'll be all right.
a social media free day, and you'll have a good time.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea right there.
Just call that a little piece of advice there. Oh, and today is the day to pretty much go shopping for anything.
Yeah.
Costco, pfft,
Yeah.
no problem.
Just avoid the bars.
Yeah, avoid the bars. Go to Costco.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be empty.
Yeah,
It'll be
there you
fine.
go. Are they open?
Probably not. I don't
know.
Maybe. Probably.
It's a pretty big deal
They got
around
TVs
here.
there, right?
It's a pretty big deal.
Got
Yeah,
TVs.
they should totally put it on the TV.
Big monster vision.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for tuning in this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. We'll see you right back here next week. Don't judge me about the jacket. It's cold. All right? So last night, I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be a big boy, and I'm going to go to bed at 9:45.
Oh, this always starts off great.
Even though I could stay up and, you know, everybody's gone to bed, I could play some video games. No. I should be responsible. I should go to bed at 9:45. That way I am wide awake for tomorrow's Linux Action Show.
Right.
I don't know what happened. I think maybe it's because I had cheese 2 nights in a row or something. I was up with stomach pains all night. So I got like zero sleep. Check it out.
Oh my God, that's cool.
There it is, the C720 from Acer.
Wow.
And
That's thin.
I got a confession to make.
Uh-oh. What'd you put on it?
Well, I just...
Have you gone that route yet?
I gave, I mean, I gave...
I can't see you doing Chrome more than like.
Yeah, I gave it a couple hours.
Yeah, and you're
and
just
then it
kinda
just
like,
started to drive me crazy. So I put Integros on there.
Yeah, well, actually, that's what I actually went GNOME Integros on all my machines. I finally just dumped Manjaro completely and just went full Arch again.
Yeah.
And,
So you know, the question was because I paid $180 for this total.
oh yeah.
Could a $180 computer?
Did you do any of the Arch power tweaks to it yet, or
No.
just vanilla out of the
Yeah,
box?
just kind of basic.
Okay. Yeah, I totally went GNOME after. I've decided I'm going to do like a solid month of GNOME this time. Then I'm going to do another solid month of KDE and just kind of make my settle. But I'm, you know, after a couple tweaks made to GNOME, I'm actually, I'm kind of not hating it.
You know, I've been seeing a lot of pro GNOME articles lately too. I think our In Defense of GNOME was timely.
Just saying.
Oh my God, I'm so tired. Okay. Coming up on this week's episode of the Linux Action. Yeah.
I just followed up with a groan and a slam to the head to the keyboard.
Oh.
Yeah, holy shit about that.
So,
Yes.
we need a title that kind of says, you know.
What the hell is it called again? It's a.
So I'm all caught up on Archer. Are you all caught
I
up on
am.
Archer? It's only been 2 episodes.
1 of 5 of
Okay.
season 5. So I think I'm 1 behind. I think that's what I have left. Yeah,
It's good. It's really good. I don't know if there's any other comedy show that I watch that lives up to Archer.
No, it's. I've been trying. Yeah, although Bob's Burgers is,
It's really
same
good.
folks, so it's good.
really good.
And my
Yeah.
wife will watch that. She won't watch Archer. But.
Bob's Burgers, it'll leave you a little warm and fuzzy inside sometimes. Hard.
I don't know what's going on.
They're stopped over here.
Oh, that's important. So maybe that's the.
I don't know what's going on.
Jeez.
Jeez,
guys.
I think we're just having RSD problems.
I think we're just having problems.
Next week, Chris switches to mate.
Hey, it's the news, and this episode is brought to you by.
Oops. Hold on.
Oh, crap.
How did I do that?
I don't know.
How did I go to fo.ting.com?
I don't know.
This isn't. What is it?
Autocomplete bit you.
Last.ting.com.
It a bit you.
All right, now I'm ready. Okay.
Oh.
Excuse me.